I thought it would be possible. Not easy, but possible.
You know, yeah, I mean, is he fighting it with his hands?
Like, he's got a lot of strategy, but does he have execution is the thing, you know?
No.
Do you think this is humanly possible?
It's definitely innovative.
I think as a group we came to the consensus, at least, except for Alex.
The moose is gonna make him bite the curve, I think. Just stop.
What is this about again?
It started here, a top research university, a place where knowledge is pursued relentlessly, where scientists, engineers, and scholars push the boundaries of human understanding. But not all questions begin in the lab. From some of the brightest minds in the School of Engineering came this: man versus moose.
You weren't involved in the original moose argument, were you?
I can't say I was. No, I'm not really familiar.
So I asked, and then they broke it to me. They were like, "Yeah, do you think our friend here, Alex, can bring down a moose?"
That was his argument, that he could knock out like the moose's legs, let the moose fall on top of him, and then eat his way through the moose, which is really freaky.
Alex's stubbornness in the argument definitely influenced how I thought, just how deeply he believed.
I argue with Alex a lot about basketball, namely Joel Embiid. He's our primary topic of conversation. And to be honest, I think it's kind of unfair that hate Embiid gets, because that's one of the most talented basketball players of all time. Maybe the most complete big man in the history of the game. And it kind of just gets washed away because people don't like watching free throws. But you can't stop him, you gotta foul him. It's just how it is. I mean, he averaged, 35, 11, and 6 healthy a couple years ago. Like, obviously he's been plagued by injury since then, but I don't buy into the hate.
Intrigued by the debate, I set out to evaluate the feasibility of Alex's proposed strategy. Does Alex have what it takes to fight a moose? Does anyone have what it takes to fight a moose? I began with some basic statistics. An adult male moose weighs between 850 and 1,500 pounds and stands at approximately 6 feet and 2 inches tall at the shoulder. Alex weighs 150 pounds and stands 5 foot 10, measured from the top of the head. A moose can run up to 35 miles per hour. In water, it maintains a surprisingly graceful pace of around 6 miles per hour. At the time of this investigation, Alex's top speed, on land or water, remained unknown. I turned to an expert witness in order to help me better understand the roots of Alex's overconfidence.
Well, first, I wouldn't call it overconfidence because I know I'm capable of it. But I think in my childhood, the main thing that impacts my way of thinking is probably sports. You gotta have confidence in yourself.
You know what? He's kind of athletic, and I didn't really expect it. It might be the hair. He kind of looks like he would be a little bit like awkward moving around, but he's pretty quick. I don't know about moose quick.
If you're not confident, then you're not gonna make the plays. You're gonna be too scared to even act. So I'm taking my shot at the moose, and if it misses, then it misses.
What about your the basketball game you had with him?
What a fluke that game was. I was not shooting it very well that day, I must say. And he was hitting some shots. I kind of do wish we had the tapes from that game, because you could just tell from the shooting from that's like 1 in a million. It's not. I have my moments though. I cooked them a little bit.
He does have big teeth, but I don't think his bones are very strong, bro. He didn't pick his leg twice. I'm not saying that he's not a strong man. I believe Alex is very strong, but I think his structure is frail.
Given all of this, Alex's unverified speed, his history of major and recurring injuries, many questions remain unanswered. It was possible in theory that his strength, speed, and agility could be enough to destabilize the moose, but were his bones strong enough to endure the aftermath? As the evidence mounted against him, Alex remained firm in his belief.
I felt outnumbered for sure. You know, they were ganging up on me. Many people came and went throughout that discussion, and consistently I was having to argue on my own. But when I had to put the facts on the table, you know, mine were always stronger than the others, I would say. And I feel like I argued with a lot less feeling. You know, I had the stats to back myself up.
I think Alex is just very like logical and strategic about everything he does. Just because it's planned out right doesn't mean it would play out right, I guess. But I respect it. I respect Alex's game.
Potentially, he could get a knee. I don't know about the other three or the rest of the Moose, but he could maybe get a knee.
My position kind of changed a little bit. At first, I thought Alex was completely out of his mind, and he was yapping. And then when he convinced me a little bit of the possibility of it.
Unfortunately for Alex, I think stature is pretty important there. As well as maybe, like, to be honest, I think he has, especially with the hair, he often wears pretty big clothes. I think there are a lot of articles that could get caught on the Moose. Be it horns, hooves, teeth. I just don't really think he's at this very moment. Like, get him a buzz, maybe some tight like polyester clothes. I think he might have a better chance.
If it was one against many, and the mighty prevail.
The final stage of Alex's proposal hinged on a single question. Assuming he could topple the moose and survive the collapse, could he then consume the animal from inside out? It was a bold idea. To assess its feasibility, I revisited Alex's history.
I would say at first I thought less about the actual physics of it and more about, like, in my heart, what I believed to be true and if I could do it or not. So once I incorporated the physics of it all and how much moose weigh and all this stuff, I was even more confident that I was going to be able to knock over the moose.
I think he would lose. Straight up. I think he has a lot of confidence in himself, and I respect that. I think he should believe in himself to some extent. I don't think he would realistically survive, for one.
And Alex is getting shit on by that moose. The moose is gonna make him bite the curb, I think. Just stomp on him.
That was like his main strat.
Really?
Was eating through it. Like, but I think the weight of the moose would like kill him first.
It's a creative approach, and I like to see that. You know, I haven't really seen Alex put it down like that. In all honesty, I don't know about a moose.
I feel like you need like a lot of jaw strength through that. Straight leather.
I don't think he could even eat through the whole moose, because I beat him at eating 20 chicken nuggets, bro. Like, I don't think he's got it in him, for reals. And so I ate 20 nuggets in like about 5 minutes. I beat Alex by like 2 minutes, I think. He gave up, he did. He didn't even eat all the nuggets, bro. I thought he was stronger, bro. I thought he was stronger. He beats me in a lot of things. I was just expecting more, to be honest, but I also really believed in myself. So yeah, that was a nugget incident.
How about, like, in 3 words, how would you describe yourself?
3 words, I would say Alexander Louis Simpson.
I would describe him as a very, like, logical person. He's very, like, type A, but he's also, like, a nice and caring guy, and he's silly. But when he gets serious, and it gets serious. And we get in a lot of arguments because of that, and then he'll, like, follow me up on it and be like, well, what about this, and blah, 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 like, oh, you're stupid, like, oh, you're stupid. He was like, dude, you're, like, actually stupid, what's wrong with you, blah, 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 and I was like, oh.
Hi, I'm Alex Simpson. I'm the moose fighter.
That's a facade, bro. Bro. Soft-spoken Alex.
After hours of research, Failed expert interviews and online forums that offered more confusion than clarity, I was left with more questions than answers. At some point, the investigation stopped being about a man fighting a moose. In our final interview, Alex didn't falter. He spoke less, but with more certainty. Not the certainty of reason, but of something deeper, something harder to shake. But as I sat across from him, listening to his quiet conviction, I began to understand. Maybe the moose was never the point. Maybe the point was wondering what would happen if someone tried. And maybe, in a world that often feels heavy and unknowable, there's something comforting in that kind of pointless belief. Not because it's right, but because it's ours.